56. What document is sent to an owner as a warning to obtain a release prior to issuing payment? Notice to owner. 57. The most efficient way to keep track of accounts payable on a monthly basis is to maintain 2 check registers, one for current and one for previous month billings. 58. Which scheduling dependency is inflexible? Hard. 59. A qualifying agent for a business organization is legally qualified to act for the business in all matters connected with contracting. 60. Payments due and unpaid under AIAA 201 shall bear interest from the date payment is due at unless the contracting parties agree otherwise. The legal prevailing rate. 61. One objective of the cost system is to control material purchases and the level of surplus inventory. 62. Bidders and subbidders requiring clarification of the bidding documents shall make a written request to the architect at least 7 days prior to the date for receipt of bids. 7 days. 63. The contractor's delivery of equipment is delayed by a truck breakdown for 5 days. The contractor is entitled to a reasonable time extension as determined by the architect. 64. Which statement is not correct regarding the depreciation of equipment? The owner's equity increases. Correct depreciation of equipment. An allocation is given each year as an expense. Assets decrease as depreciation accumulates. Liabilities are reduced. 65. When does Form W-4, Employees Withholding Allowance Certificate, expire? When the employee gives the employer a new Form W-4. 66. If an employer conducts business in more than one location, he must complete Form BLS 3020. 67. Which of the following would be a result of a good inventory control policy? Materials needed for construction projects can be supplied faster. 68. A construction company can determine the overall efficiency of its operation by determining its true investment yield, which is defined as the net income to net worth ratio. 69. Which of the following is not a fixed overhead expense? Union welfare. 70. The ratio that is determined by adding cash, accounts receivable and marketable securities together and dividing by current liabilities is referred to as the quick ratio. 71. An employer who fails to file reports when due will be assessed a penalty of $25 per report for each month, or fraction thereof, that the report is delinquent. $25. 72. A secondary qualifying agent is responsible for supervision of field work at sites where the agent's license was used to obtain the permit. 73. What is the accounting term that describes the maintenance of a record of each invoice and each partial payment made, including late fees, interest, and discounts? Open invoice method. 74. All the following should be considered overhead when tracking job costs except performance bond premium. It's a direct cost and not an overhead. 75. Residential rental property is depreciated over a period of 27.5 years. 76. For construction compensation, the most accurate form of financial reporting would be percentage of completion, accrual basis. 77. All of the following are used to compute taxable wages subject to federal unemployment, FUTA, tax except workers' compensation benefits listed as taxable wages. Vacation allowance. Bonuses. Dismissal or severance pay. 78. What is the yield paid to the lender for the use of money? Interest. 79. All of the following are advantages of network analysis except the balance sheet of critical activities. Advantages of network analysis. The identification of when critical activities must start. The interdependencies between activities. The sequential and simultaneous job activities. 80. What is the term for expenses that are actually paid, but not recognized as paid until a later period? Deferred assets. 81. A joint venture must be qualified as a business entity. Separate and distinct. 82. A contractor just starting in business must purchase workers' compensation insurance if he has or more employees. 1. 83. How many days prior to the date established in a contract for progress payments shall a contractor submit to the architect application for payment? 10 days. 84. Which is a method of improving cash flow? Taking advantage of discounts. 85. A subcontractor has a standard form of agreement between contractor and subcontractor with the prime contractor on a project. The only way the subcontractor can assign work on the subcontract is with written consent of the contractor. 86. If a contractor receives an OSHA citation, it must be prominently displayed at or near the place of the alleged violation for 3 days, or until corrected. 87. Chapter 489 of the Florida Statutes deals with licensing and regulating construction contracting, electrical and alarm systems contracting, and septic tank contracting. 88. Change orders are not part of the original contract. 89. A typical purchase order should include all of the following except sales tax for purchase and for resale. 90. Most cost-plus contracts are open-ended, meaning the total cost of the project cannot be determined until the project is complete. 91. Which of the following is not a component of a safety program, but still useful in maintaining a safe work environment? Drug testing. 92. A certified contractor is qualifying a company operating in the contractor's own name. The contractor wants to close that company and start qualifying a new company operating as contracting company. The contractor can start operating as contracting company as soon as the board approves the new business organization. 93. An owner may terminate notice of commencement by executing a notice of termination that contains all except which of the following? 2 copies of a notice direct contract. Notice of termination must contains recording office document book and page reference numbers and date of notice of commencement. Statement that lieners have been paid in full. Statement specifying that notice applies to all real property subject to notice of commencement. 94. Which financial ratio is favored by loan officers and credit managers as a good indicator of a company's financial health? Current ratio. 95. A contractor who deposits payroll taxes 18 days late is subject to a penalty of 10%. 10%. 96. Which does not require written notice in order to file a claim for additional cost? Work performed because of an emergency endangering the owner's property. 97. All the following are generally found on an invoice except the balance of the customer's account. Invoice have A description of materials. The sales price of the materials. The terms of the invoice. 98. Loss of use insurance, if purchased, is the responsibility of the owner. 99. What does gross sales less direct costs equal? Gross profit. 100. Which inventory cost basis valuation method assumes that the first materials purchased are the first used? First in, first out. 101. Your first year of operations is complete, and you have just finished bringing your cash basis accounting records up to date to send over to your accountant. For your accountant to be able to produce financial statements for the construction company on an accrual basis, you will also need to supply year-end accounts payable and receivable. 102. According to Circular E instructions, copy A of all Forms W-2, non-electronic forms, shall be sent to the Social Security Administration by the last day of which month of the following year? February. 103. To finalize the contractor's affidavit of release of lien, who administers the sworn oath? Notary. 104. Successful builders control their costs best at which time? During each phase of the work. 105. A company's initial record of all its business transactions is known as a journal. 106. Which of the following is not in accordance with requirements for an executive being granted an exemption from the Fair Labor Standards Act? Receives a salary of $900 per week. 107. General conditions are often accompanied by supplemental conditions which modify and extend the general conditions. 108. Florida Contractor's Manual describes master activities as a group of activities with no activity representing more than the project. 10%. 109. During the year, a firm used several independent contractors to perform various services. Each of these services involved payments in excess of $600 to the independent contractor performing the services. The independent contractors were not employees of the company. What is the company's responsibility for reporting the earnings of these contractors to the Internal Revenue Service? The company must file Form 1099 MISC to report total payments of $600 or more to these contractors. 110. The Florida Civil Rights Act of 1992, Chapter 760, FL, STAT, does not protect against discrimination for which of the following? Drug abuse.